Wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show, and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. I'm your host for today's episode, Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. I'm joined today by Heidi Howell-Green. She is the VP of Marketing over at BrightMove. Heidi, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Logan. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about brand ambassador programs. I think something that a lot of marketers out there are going to get some value in the specific strategies that you're going to talk about today. Before we jump straight into that, though, Heidi, I would love for you to share with listeners a little bit about yourself and what you and the team at BrightMove are up to these days.
Sure. So I have almost 2 decades of experience in marketing. I've primarily worked in the B2B space in the staffing industry. I joined BrightMove a few months ago to lead the marketing and communications efforts. BrightMove is the best applicant tracking system you've never heard of. We are a global innovation leader in the hiring, technology, and recruiting software industry. BrightMove is the perfect cloud-based applicant tracking system for recruitment process outsourcing, staffing, and corporate human resource teams around the world. And we are actually getting ready to celebrate our 15-year anniversary.
Oh, wow. A lot of exciting things going on. And
Yes.
Congrats on that 15-year anniversary coming up.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Heidi, let's dive right in and talk a little bit about brand ambassador programs. I think before we get into the how, let's start with why. Why should brands be thinking about a brand ambassador program? Maybe start with that and speak to some of the benefits that you think are possibilities out there by investing and focusing on some sort of brand ambassador program.
Sure. So really, the best brand ambassadors are those that work within your company already. Brand ambassador programs increase both brand equity and brand value. There's a lot of noise out there today. Everyone's trying to do social media marketing. Everyone's trying to get their name out there. And obviously, the best way to do that is with a group of people sharing consistent messages. So brand ambassador programs are really effective. There's traditional benefits that you might think of, such as increased brand awareness and increased leads. Surprisingly, leads from employee advocacy are 7 times more likely to close than other forms of leads. This also increases conversions, it increases sales, it increases customer retention. And then other than the sales side and marketing side of benefits, there are many other benefits to consider, such as employer branding. Everyone knows there is a talent shortage right now, and as important as it is to attract top talent, it is equally important to retain talent. Brand ambassador programs increase employee engagement. A study from Gallup found that only 33% of U.S. employees are engaged. So it's very important to make sure that as many of your employees are engaged as possible to increase employee retention. There's an opportunity to highlight your corporate culture to attract new talent. And brand messages are reshared 24 times more frequently when shared by employees rather than by the brand itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen that play out, with some of our clients. We help produce LinkedIn content for them, and we're big proponents of sharing that content through individual profiles rather than through company pages for the reasons that you just mentioned there. So Heidi, you talked about employees and that stat. I think you said it's 7 times more likely when leads and referrals come through an employee advocate. Tell us a little bit about where people should be thinking about their brand ambassador program on both sides of the fence, both customers and employees.
Sure. So obviously, the more employees share content, the more people are likely to see it. So that will help with your recruiting strategy, but it also helps attract new customers as well, because everyone has different types of people in their network. Maybe they met at other jobs in different industries, and it just may happen that someone is connected to someone who's looking for the new product or service that your company sells. So really expanding your network and reaching as many people as possible will help to increase leads and new customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Ann Guarini from Affinity was talking about the power of open networks and shared some really staggering statistics in a previous episode. We'll link to that in the show notes. I think what you're saying here definitely echoes that trend. So Heidi, if folks are thinking about this and they're convinced on the why and they want to move on to the how do you recommend they get started? What are some of the things that they could do to begin to build a brand ambassador program? Maybe start with the employee side, and then we'll move over to the customer side after that. Sound good?
Sure. So really, I think this program does best when it's based on social media. So having an organic social media-based program, I think, is the best way to start your brand ambassador program. So the first thing you want to do is ensure the corporate channels are up to date and they're being utilized and monitored. So make sure that you have content going out on a consistent basis and all of the branding is up to date. That will be a great place to start. And then secondly, you want to provide training and clear expectations to the employees who are going to be your brand ambassadors. For some companies, especially if you're smaller, that's everybody. For larger companies, that's maybe a certain department that you start with or a certain group of people that you start with. So just make sure that they have training and they have clear expectations. I know that legal departments and HR departments are really weary when they hear that there's going to be an organic social media-based program for employees to be brand ambassadors. There are those other platforms where you can pay and design content that can be shared by employees that legal has approved. I don't recommend those solutions because I feel that this program should be organic, genuine, and sincere. And I feel if you're force-feeding your employees content, that defeats the purpose. So in my experience, we haven't had any issues with legal or HR with employees because the training was provided and expectations were set up front. Mm-hmm. And I worked with hundreds of employees doing this. So next, after you set the expectations and provide the training, it's important to kind of give your employees some ideas of content that they might want to share. Obviously, as they start doing it, they'll come up with their own content. Always encourage them to share the brand content that is published from your brand channel. That's very important, as well as their own ideas and thoughts. It's important to make sure that top executive leaders are buying into the program and participating. It really needs to start from the top, and the leaders need to be engaged and involved in the conversation. And finally, the social media person or marketing person or whoever is going to be managing this program needs to monitor the engagement and obviously check and make sure that everything is within brand compliance. But just be part of the conversation and help to spread the awareness.
It's story time, and this growth story is about search engine marketing. Okay, so the story revolves around eSub, a project management SaaS company specifically for subcontractors. Even though eSub had incredible customer retention, they struggled with growth. Being a niche service, they discovered that there was little demand expressed for their solutions within search engines. To take on this challenge, eSub hired Directive Consulting. the B2B search marketing agency. After refining targeting, pre-qualifying clicks within ad copy, and developing custom landing pages, Directive was able to increase eSub's marketing qualified leads by 71%, while decreasing their cost per lead by 65%. I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you're advocating for, setting expectations, providing training as opposed to force feeding. That feels more organic, but yet there's still some guidelines that you put in place for folks. I think that is where the win-win can often be. So let's move to the customer side. Heidi, tell us a little bit about where you start there. Does it start with getting marketing and customer success on the same page to develop this brand ambassador program from a customer perspective?
So I do think that it involves both marketing and customer success, and making sure that you have representatives from both of those teams actively participating in this program so that they can both be sharing similar messages, and the customers will likely have a relationship with the customer success person. So that will be a new channel to find more people and a greater diverse audience than you might necessarily just from the marketing side.
Yeah, awesome. So Heidi, tell us a little bit more about where you recommend then marketing and customer success start with building that out. What are some of the things that you've seen successful next steps for those teams to work together?
Yeah, so I really believe in editorial content calendars. Setting them up usually about 2 weeks in advance, because you don't want the content to be stale, but you want everyone to be on the same page well in advance. So the brand messaging should be set forward for 2 weeks, and then the ambassadors can then share the content that's coming from the brand, but that will spark their own ideas that tie in with that messaging. And then that will really help your program to just grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, you spoke about some of the high level benefits earlier for folks. Can you speak to some of the results that you've seen either internally at BrightMove or other organizations you've seen that are doing brand ambassadorship really well?
Sure. So the BrightMove Brand Ambassador Program is still in the planning stages. We are planning to launch it probably in the second quarter, so we haven't started it here yet, but at other organizations I have done this, and it has been quite successful. One of the most surprising things that I think I saw through this program was the exponential increase in revenue. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars because of this one program. And we didn't have to really spend any money to get ROI. We had to obviously invest our time in training and developing content and helping our employees with their content, but we didn't have to pay any advertising fees, or this wasn't any paid campaigns on social. This was all organic. We also saw a huge increase in brand awareness and a large increase in PR opportunities. I know for a lot of brands, it's always hard to find those PR opportunities. You make pitches, but just no one seems interested most of the time, no matter how great you think your idea is. So when they come to you, that's even better. And we had so many opportunities. We actually had to start picking and choosing because we couldn't just do everything that everyone wanted us to do, which is a great position to be in. We saw an increase in employment applications because people were seeing our culture and they really wanted to work with us. We had a high employee retention rate to begin with, but as this program flourished, it just made everyone who was there want to be there even more, and we rarely had turnover. We saw an increase in productivity, positivity, and teamwork. At this one company, everyone was very close and was kind of like a family already. And people did well at working together as a team kind of when they were forced to, but no one went out of their way to solicit other team members for projects unless they thought it directly impacted them. But this program made other people see what they were working on and say, hey, can I join in with you on this project? I have an idea. So it really helped kind of bridge some gaps for our entire team. We grew followers and engagement by over 100% in 1 year organically for all of our social channels at 3 different companies.
Wow, nice. Definitely some great results, and seeing some consistency, that it wasn't just kind of a one-off thing, that you've seen this repeatable, and touching on a lot of the things that you alluded to earlier, increased revenue because deals that come in through advocacy and ambassador programs are more likely to close. So they have a higher percentage conversion rate, as well as increased value on the PR and the recruiting side. So I think that there are a number of different areas where this can affect. Have you seen any consistency, Heidi, in which departments really start to engage most that maybe you wouldn't think of or weren't really active beforehand? Is it sales, or is it really across all departments? And I imagine it kind of varies from company to company, right?
I think it does vary from company to company, but as the 3 different companies where this has been a large focus and large initiative, especially for me, I know that sometimes the HR people are more behind the scenes. They're not really out front unless they are recruiting specifically. Right. But they really got into it, especially for the culture side. IT guys, I don't know if they're really necessarily known as being extroverts and social media wizards, but they seem to really enjoy being part of this program. So I really think that everyone at a company can be involved and have fun doing it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you, Heidi, for sharing not only some of the benefits, some of the specific results you've seen, but talking a little bit to the specifics of how to get going, where you've seen people engage, what departments are starting to take part and enjoy it. I think we've given listeners some great things to think on, and some steps to take if they feel like a brand ambassador program is really right for their brand. Heidi, if anybody listening to this would like to ask you any follow-up questions on this topic or anything else marketing related, or find out more about what you and the team at BrightMove are doing, what's the best way for them to follow up with you?
Yes, so I would love to talk with anyone who might be interested in starting their own brand ambassador program. You can find me on LinkedIn or on Twitter at HLHgreen. Also, you can check out brightmove.com, especially if you're in the market for a new ATS. We would love to chat with you and see if we may be a good fit. And if you mention this podcast, you can receive a 10% discount when you sign up.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That is a phenomenal call to action for folks. And definitely highly recommend folks check you guys out. Heidi, it has been fantastic having you in our network and getting the chance to have you on the show here finally and share a topic that you're really passionate about. So I appreciate you making some time, and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Logan. I enjoyed it. I'll talk with you again soon.
Digital marketing agencies have a tough job. You have to stay on top of the latest marketing strategies for your clients and your agency. What if there was a way you could address both at the same time? Imagine your agency putting out content with greater quality and quantity. Envision bringing your clients a turnkey solution for one of B2B marketing's fastest growing media strategies, podcasting. You know, all those clients asking for your help with their account-based marketing efforts? Picture being the first to bring them the idea of content-based networking, showing them the proven strategy for breaking into their most coveted accounts. Here's the concept. Sweetfish Media is looking to work with a limited number of innovative agencies interested in a new partnership model. We produce a podcast for your agency. You introduce the power of podcasting and Sweetfish services to your clients. Everybody wins. Learn more at sweetfishpartners.com.